In the summer of 1985, Macau, a small Portuguese colony known for its casinos and colonial charm, became the scene of one of the most horrifying crimes in Asian history. It was a case that would haunt the region for decades, a story of greed, betrayal, and unimaginable brutality. This is the story of the 8 Immortals restaurant murders. In the 1980s, Macau was unlike the glittering casino city we know today. Back then, it was a quiet place, a mix of Chinese traditions and Portuguese influence. Streets were narrow, filled with food stalls, small temples, and family-run businesses. Among them stood a popular local restaurant called 8 Immortals Restaurant, named after legendary figures from Chinese folklore. It was located in the Taipa area and was owned by a respected man named Sik Ho, also known as the Ghost. The restaurant was known for good food, friendly service, and the warm hospitality of its owners, the Zhang family. They lived above the restaurant, father, mother, children, and in-laws, a total of 10 people in the household. No one could imagine that soon. Every one of them would vanish. It began quietly. Neighbors noticed that the restaurant, usually open from early morning, stayed closed for several days. The Zhang family's friends tried to call. No one answered. Food suppliers came for deliveries. The doors were locked. At first, people assumed the family had gone on vacation. But then, something strange happened. Someone else reopened the restaurant, claiming to have taken over ownership. That man was Huang Zhiheng, in Cantonese, Wang Qihang. He was a frequent gambler, known locally as a man with debts and a bad temper. When asked where the Zhang family went, Huang calmly said, "They sold me the restaurant and moved overseas." No one suspected anything at first, but soon rumors began to spread. To understand the horror that followed, we must look at the man behind it. Huang was born in mainland China and came to Macau looking for fortune. But he quickly fell into the gambling world, losing money, borrowing heavily, and owing debts to dangerous people. He often visited the 8 Immortals restaurant. He gambled there, drank there, and befriended the owner, Zheng Lin. But Huang's friendship was an illusion. Behind his smile, resentment and greed were growing. Huang owed the Zhang family money. When they tried to collect, he became furious. He started to believe that killing them could solve his problems and make him rich. What happened next remains one of the most gruesome events in criminal history. It was around August 1985. Huang invited the Zhang family to dinner upstairs at the restaurant. It was supposed to be a friendly meal, a peace offering to settle their debt dispute. But once the family gathered, the night turned into horror. Huang attacked them one by one, first the father, then the others. It is believed that some were killed quickly, others were restrained and murdered later. Even young children were among the victims. There were 10 victims in total, the entire Zhang family. Huang then did something almost beyond imagination. To hide the evidence, he dismembered the bodies. Parts were reportedly cooked, some discarded, and others hidden within the restaurant's walls and drains. The details are so disturbing that even police reports kept them vague. Some later rumors exaggerated the story, claiming that human remains were used in food served to customers. But investigators never confirmed that. Still, the scene they discovered was horrifying enough to shock the world. For weeks, Huang continued running the restaurant, serving customers as if nothing had happened. He even moved into the Zhang family's apartment, and drove their car. But he made one critical mistake. He used their property documents and forged signatures to claim ownership. When relatives of the Zhang family became suspicious and filed a police report, the investigation began. At first, police were confused. There was no sign of struggle, and Huang insisted the family had emigrated. But neighbors told police they never saw anyone leave. Strange smells began to come from the restaurant. Then the police made their grim discovery: traces of human remains in the plumbing and drainage system. The evidence was undeniable. Huang was arrested. During questioning, Huang was calm, even cold. He admitted to killing the Zhang family, but he showed little remorse. He said he did it because they were greedy and that he wanted to keep the restaurant and their money. His confession shocked everyone. But what disturbed investigators most was his detachment, the way he described the murders like a business transaction. Psychologists later described him as a sociopath, methodical, manipulative, and emotionless. The Macau court system, under Portuguese administration at the time, wasn't used to handling such extreme cases. The 8 Immortals case became the most infamous trial in Macau's history. Crowds gathered outside the courthouse. Newspapers across Hong Kong and Southeast Asia printed sensational headlines. In 1986, Huang was found guilty of multiple counts of murder. Because Macau did not have the death penalty, he was sentenced to life imprisonment. He was later transferred to a prison in mainland China, where he eventually died in the 1990s. Even after the trial, the memory of the case lingered like a ghost over Macau. The restaurant building was abandoned. Locals said it was cursed, that at night strange noises could be heard, and shadows moved in the empty windows. Some taxi drivers refused to pass by it after dark. Eventually, the building was demolished, but the legend remained. For many in Macau, the 8 Immortals case became more than just a crime story. It was a symbol of how greed and desperation can destroy humanity. Over the years, the story of the 8 Immortals murders grew into legend. Some said that Huang had served human flesh to customers. Others claimed that the spirits of the Zhang family haunted the site. Films, novels, and TV shows were inspired by the crime, blurring the line between fact and fiction. But the truth, as recorded by investigators, was already dark enough. 10 innocent people were killed by one man, not for revenge or passion, but for money. That simple motive made the crime even more chilling. Today, the 8 Immortals case stands as a grim reminder of what unchecked greed and obsession can lead to. Macau has transformed into a glamorous casino hub, filled with lights, wealth, and tourists. But beneath that modern image lies a dark piece of history few dare to mention. The story continues to fascinate true crime followers, criminologists, and historians, not just for its brutality, but for what it reveals about human nature. How could a man cross every moral boundary for personal gain? How could a community not notice something so terrible happening in plain sight? These questions remain unanswered. Narrator. The 8 Immortals. Case reminds us that evil doesn't always hide in darkness. Sometimes it wears a friendly smile and serves you dinner. And in the bustling heart of Macau, a city that thrives on fortune and fate, the ghosts of that night still whisper, warning future generations of what greed can cost. In memory of the victims of the 8 Immortals restaurant. Macau, 1985.